tonight, as we continue talking about our spiritual disciplines, one spiritual discipline that I think sticks out a little bit differently is called reverence. You know, one dictionary defines reverence this way: honor or respect felt or shown, to show deference, a profound, adoring awe or respect. Now, at first thought, reverence can seem really impersonal and almost cold. And when put into wrong perspective, it can even seem really boring, all about rules and a real killjoy. And you know, earlier in my life, reverence seemed to be about a place and about rules, and well, rules were made to be broken. But I've come to understand more and more that reverence is about God, and it happens as a result of a few things. You see, I recognize who He truly is. I desire a genuine relationship with Him, and I want to be a part of what He is doing. Let me explain. I remember when I was younger, we would go to church, and the idea of reverence meant that I wasn't allowed to have any fun. The place of God was to be feared, and if I was having fun, well, that meant that I was disrespecting God. Not exactly something that I wanted to be a part of. This idea, it carried on as I grew up, and it developed into this sense that God was this faraway cosmic being. I clearly did not understand what it was to truly know God or to have reverence for Him. I did not know His true nature. What I knew about God usually came from what others said. I could recite some things, and I even read the Bible at times. I was in church all the time, it seemed. I had some head knowledge about God, but the problem wasn't in my head. It was in my heart. See, I knew about God, but I didn't know Him. I knew a lot about what I wanted, but not much about what He wanted. I simply did not know His love for me. And what I would have said about God then would probably sound a lot different than what I would have said about Him now. You know, in thinking about this, it reminds me of an encounter that Jesus had with some people who thought they knew a lot about God and a lot about reverence. Matthew chapter 12, verses 6 and 8, it says, "I tell you that something greater than the temple is here." This is Jesus speaking. And He says, "If you had known what these words mean, 'I desire mercy, not sacrifice,' you would not have condemned the innocent. For the Son of Man is the Lord of the Sabbath." What's interesting here is that Jesus is speaking to a group of people who knew a lot about God, more than most of us sitting in this room. You see, they were the Pharisees. They were the holy men of God. They were like the reverence police, if you will. And earlier in this passage, they were talking amongst each other about what Jesus was doing on the Sabbath day, the holy day. Jesus was working on the Sabbath day, and from what they thought they knew, this was not showing reverence to God. They had been making reverence more about a building or a place in a day. And what started off as showing reverence to God became about obeying their rules and their laws. You see, clearly their heart was not in tune with God's heart. And we know this because they had no love for the people that Jesus was ministering to. And they were totally missing the fact that He was the Messiah, the Christ, the one they had been waiting for generations. You see, their reverence was for the things they learned about God and not for God Himself. You might say that Jesus was saying to these church people, if you truly had reverence for me, you would know what I really care about. I care about people. I care about their needs. Well, now that I've spent more time with God and I'm growing in my understanding of His character and His true nature, I know there are rules, and rules are important, but I've also learned what it means to truly give reverence to Him. And giving true and honest reverence to God, it boils down to one thing: deference You see, I defer to what God wants to do. And in Jesus' words, he said it this way. When in the garden praying before he was to be crucified, he said, God, not my will, but yours be done. Now, practicing reverence, it's led me to some great benefits. It means that I get to be a part of the miracles that Jesus wants to perform. It means that I get to know firsthand the love that God has for all people. And it means that I don't have to worry about the future because I know it's set by my very capable and loving God. So how do we practice reverence? How do we make it part of our walk? Well, here are some ways that I've learned to practice this discipline, and I hope they can help you. You see, I take time in worship where I recognize that it's not about me. It's not about my comfort or my preferences. I practice observing what God is doing in moments where His power is evident. So I'm ready to move with His Spirit. And I remain flexible in life because I know God is sovereign, meaning I'm here to serve His purpose and to bring honor to Him. So maybe the next time you find yourself distracted at a time where maybe reverence should be shown, I want to encourage you to try this. Ask God to show you His desire for that moment. Now go ahead, split back up into your small groups and talk over this topic of reverence.